The future of the Jasper power plant is now up for discussion. More on proposed ideas. Plus, Carrie Schneider is back with our friends at the DuBois County Humane Society, and Jasper Arts Director Kip Miracle is tonight's guest on Inform. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. Future uses for the Jasper power plant are still being explored. Last night, the Jasper Utility Service Board approved putting together a request for expressions of interest for the plant. That will be sent to the Jasper City Council for its approval at Wednesday night's meeting before it is sent out to anyone who might be interested. Now, the power plant has not been used since it closed in 2008, and a year later, the city began exploring options for converting the plant to biomass. The Jasper Clean Energy Project lease that the city signed with Twisted Oak Corporation back in 2011 was terminated earlier this year following a lengthy court battle between the city and Healthy DuBois County. HDC argued that the biomass plan would result in negative health impacts. Jasper Utilities General Manager Bud Hauersperger says when it comes to future uses for the building and property, anything is possible.
We're keeping our mind open and we're looking at, we've had talk about maybe somebody possibly using it for research for carbon capture possibly, and any other kind of renewables that might be used, converting the plant for different types of fuels. So we're really keeping an open mind and see what kind of response, kind of similar to what we did 4 years ago.
Hauersperger says the idea of using the facility as a research area for carbon capture was an idea that came up several years ago and drew interest from at least one company. However, no proposal was ever submitted. Another option being discussed is demolishing the power plant and coming up with a new use for the land, though an environmental study would have to be done. The board also briefly discussed how to replenish nearly $1 million in costs of the biomass litigation. All fees have been paid using reserve funds, but the reserves are now in a deficit until the board gets direction on how to proceed. That direction will come from the State Board of Accounts. An accident at a Daviess County youth camp claimed the life of the camp's director. Just before 10:45 yesterday morning, Daviess County Sheriff's deputies and other emergency personnel were called to Camp Ileana along East County Road 450 South on the reported accident. Authorities say 60-year-old David Ira Mitchell Bean was killed while he and another staff member were trying to cut a dead tree at the camp. Sheriff's deputies say Bean and 20-year-old Cody Chapman of Vincennes were removing a large dead tree at the bottom of a hill near the camp's water slide. After they finished cutting the tree, Bean and Chapman attempted to pull it down using a Kubota tractor with a rope tied to the front loader and attached to the tree. Officials say Bean was standing near the bottom of the tree when the front end loader began pulling on the tree and the rope broke. The break caused the tree to sway and a large limb from the top of the tree fell and hit Bean on the head. Staff members immediately called 911 and began CPR, but they could not revive Bean. He was pronounced dead at the scene by the Daviess County Coroner's Office. Bean served as director of Camp Ileana for several years. With several projects in the works, the City of Jasper is looking at new ways to fund some of them. Today, the Jasper Redevelopment Commission hosted a public open house at the train depot about the idea of creating a tax increment finance or TIF district. The city currently doesn't have any TIF districts. The event was designed for folks to offer their suggestions on areas of the city that would be best suited to have a TIF district. City leaders are looking into several different projects that could be done using funding from such a district. These range from riverfront development, such as the former Jasper Cabinet buildings, to work on the downtown square and the repurposing of the former Astor Theater. Other projects include the ongoing aquatics study and the former Hoosier Desk building. The open house was led by Ed Curtin. Curtin is the owner of CWC Latitudes, the firm that is leading the city through the TIF district process. Curtin says TIF districts can be an effective way to spur economic development in a community.
Ultimately, the Redevelopment Commission is able to get the increment from new development, so new business, new industry, new expansion, those types of things. That new tax that's created, the Redevelopment Commission gets to use that for a period of time to help provide additional opportunities for economic development.
Now, from the city's standpoint, Jasper Mayor Terry Seitz says the TIF district is an important tool that can help the city grow into the future.
The opportunity is for us to look at areas that may have redevelopment or buildings or structures to be built in the near future, and to try to again capitalize on that. So it's again, it does not change the taxation, it just refocuses the use of the taxation.
CWC Latitudes will be reporting back to the Redevelopment Commission at the August meeting. TIF districts can exist for up to 25 years under state law. A senior housing project in Huntingburg is set to continue moving forward. TRICAP has been awarded $500,000 in Affordable Housing Program grant funds from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis. The grant funding will be used for work on the former St. Joseph's Hospital building. The project has already received tax credits. Back in February, TRICAP and construction firm Miller Valentine were awarded the housing credits needed for developing part of the building into senior housing units. The grant funding will be in addition to those tax credits. TRICAP officials say they are proud to have played a key role as the local community housing development organization to secure the tax credits and AHP funds needed for the project. They also say the partnership with Miller Valentine has been important in making this project a reality. TRICAP was founded back in 1966 to provide programs, services, and opportunities to thousands of low-income citizens across the 41-county area. The organization is eligible to provide those services locally for DuBois, Pike, and Warwick counties. The Indiana Department of Transportation can now resume nighttime work on the Interstate 69 extension near Bloomington. Marion County Judge David Dreyer issued a temporary injunction yesterday blocking a Monroe County ordinance that limited noise on the project between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Dreyer found that the law appears to be on INDOT's side in the dispute. He also cited worker safety and potentially higher construction costs. An INDOT lawsuit contended Monroe County had no authority to limit construction. INDOT contractors faced the threat of $7,500 fines for each violation. INDOT spokesman Will Wingfield says the agency remains committed to working with Monroe County and its residents to minimize noise on this project. Finally this evening, a new national report says the well-being of Indiana's children has improved somewhat, but improvement in a key area might be overstated because of a quirk in the state's reading rules. The Annie E. Casey Foundation's 2014 Kids Count report finds a slight decrease in the number of Indiana children living in poverty and improvements in the state's education ranking based on literacy measures. A national researcher called in to examine problems with the state's I-STEP test found that the state's 4th grade reading proficiency is probably overstated because some students are being held back in 3rd grade by iRead 3 testing requirements. Indiana's ranking in the report jumped between 2011, before the reading requirement was implemented, and 2013, the first year after that requirement took effect. All right, coming up after the break, Carrie is back with our friends at the DuBois County Humane Society, plus your local forecast, sports with Bill Potter, and Inform with Kit Miracle. That's all up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.